2015 to 2016 Hyundai Genesis front brakes. First one, get the wheel off. It's a 21 millimeter. Have the car safely raised. After the wheel is off, we're gonna come and get this little cage part off. It's just these 10 millimeter bolts here. There's 6 of them total. You can just use a 10 millimeter and just get these off, and then set the bolts and the little metal plate aside. All right, so we got those set aside for now. We're gonna reuse them, so keep them somewhere safe. And I got my I just take wire cutters and I pull these little lock pins out right here and right here. There's 2 of them, so just go ahead and pull these out. Careful not to lose these. They call them the grasshoppers because if you drop them, they bounce away, and we do need them, and sometimes they could be a little bit of a pain to find. All right, so then once you get those out, set those aside. Like I said, don't lose them. You're gonna need them. And then these little springs are in here, and you get these out by removing these pins, these slide pins. So I just grab the slide pins and just kind of push them out towards the inside of the vehicle, and just slide these out. Once I get it a little bit out, I'll just grab it with needle nose pliers or just whatever you got. You could even use dikes if you need to. So just go ahead and pull these out like that. Don't lose the slide pins, and then those springs, just watch out because they're under a little bit of tension, and take note the direction and the way those springs are in as well. All right, go ahead and get this slide pin out. Sometimes they could be a little stubborn, and you just kind of got to be patient and work with it. All right, so I got that out, and they're both the same length, so you don't have to worry about which one goes on top or bottom. Now, I'm gonna kind of use this to use my pad to pull out. You could use pliers to pull these out, or just whatever you want. I just use I have a screwdriver that I use for pulling pads like this out. But basically just slide them out the back. The pistons might still be pushing on them, so it could be kind of tough. So what you can do is take something and put it through here, push the pad in, or kind of bend the pad back, and that will push the pistons in a little bit to get them not having so much pressure on the pad itself. Just kind of gotta work it a little bit. And if you have like a flimsy screwdriver, I wouldn't try to do that because you could break it, and I don't want no one getting hurt. But anyway, you can get these out. All right, so I got that out, and then I'll do the same for the other side. And I'm doing front pads and front rotors, so I'm going to be removing this this caliper, and we will be showing you how to remove the rotor as well. So sorry, I should have just edited past getting these pads out. It took a minute. All right, but they're out, and as you can see, there's 4 pistons total, 2 on each side. When those are compressed, you have to press them all in at the same time, or else you're gonna pop one out and have a whole big mess. You use a tool like this to do it. This will push pistons in each way. I recommend not doing this brake job unless you have a tool like this, or if you're really clever and can think of something, but I couldn't think of it. So I'm gonna use this to just do it now. And this, I squeeze it and it pushes all the pistons in at the same time. That's the only way to do it. If you try to push in 2 or 1 at a time, you're just gonna pop the other ones out. So I use that to push them in. I'll probably have to do it a little bit more in a little bit, because when I put my new pads in, I'm gonna need more room. So I'm gonna get this caliper off. The caliper and bracket are kind of one thing. So I'm gonna get, there's these 2 bolts right here that hold it on, and it looks like it's a 17 millimeter. So let's get our 17 millimeter on here. These are gonna be a little tight, as they should be. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get this off. All right. Put the bolt somewhere safe. We're going to need to reuse them, and then we'll get the top bolt out. And when you get these bolts off, support the caliper, because you don't want, this is a pretty heavy caliper, you don't want it to fall, and when you get it loose, you can set it over the steering knuckle to support it. So I got the bolt out, and then what I'm going to do is just kind of slide it off the rotor and gently set it over the steering knuckle to support the brake line. Careful not to hit the heat shield and push the heat shield into your rotor, because it'll cause a grinding noise. And yeah, so I'm going to get the rotor off too. I got my new rotor. It's from Hyundai. This is the part number. Took like a week to get. Alright, so this is what it looks like new, and I always just kind of spray it with brake clean and clean off any packaging grease or glue that they have on here sometimes. So you got to get these off. These could be stubborn, like 9 out of 10 times you're going to be stubborn and not want to come out. I have a video on different methods to get these out, if you know, using different types of tools and stuff. But on here, I'm just going to get these loosened off camera with my air gun. But check out my other video. It's called How to Get Rotor Bolts Loose, I believe. What I do is I just take my little, I have a mini air gun, and I just hit these once, and then it knocks them loose. You could get a mini air gun at like Napa or Auto Parts, AutoZone. They sell them, they're like $30, and you just tap it on the side with the air hammer, and then they become loose. So that's how I did it. All right, and there's 3 of these guys. So I'm gonna get 1, 2, 3. And once those are loose and off, the rotor should come off. If it's still giving you trouble, you could hit it in the back if you're replacing the rotor. If you're just resurfacing it, then obviously don't hit it with a hammer. But if it's still being stubborn, I put a lug nut on there and I hit it with a hammer to knock it loose, and then I'll remove it. So I always match my stuff up. The quality of parts, guys, has gone down over the years, so sometimes you get the right stuff, sometimes you don't. So I kind of always match my parts up, and the rotors are pretty easy to match up. You just put them over each other. Got my new rotor on, and then I'm going to put my bolts in here. Go ahead and tighten these down, and when you put these back in, you just got to get them snug with the screwdriver. You don't got to go make it tight or nothing. Over time, they'll just get kind of in there, and they'll stay tight. But do what you like. If you want to make it tight them, then go ahead and do that. So I got hardware that came with my pads, so I'm replacing my hardware. The hardware is just these little metal things in here. That's where the pads kind of sit on. You don't have to replace these. If they gave you some and you bought some dealer pads, you might as well, but you don't have to. As long as you clean them off a little bit, you can put your pads in there. Here's my new ones, and these just slide in here like this, and then they should kind of lock in place. So that's how it's supposed to look when it's in, and you put it in, and it should just kind of go into place, and it should be like kind of snug. It shouldn't fall out easily or nothing. And then once I got those in, I would just put my caliper on, and they shouldn't be rubbing against the rotor or nothing like that. I put my bolts back on. I'm gonna put torque specs in the description box, guys. I know it's starting to pick up speed quick, but yeah, get your bolts back on. Make sure your brake line's not twisted or nothing like that. And then here's my new pads. These are from the dealer. They come with shims already installed and little brake pad squeal sensors on there, so that's good. Here's my part number. Pretty expensive pads. They were like $79, $80, but when you're having like a luxury car like this, I don't really recommend ever going like cheap on the pads, because you're just gonna have squeaking and stuff. So these should go in. If you have your pistons pushed in enough, these should just kind of go into place. There's an arrow, so put your arrow up the right way. And all right, so once those are in, we're gonna put these slide pins in. Now don't forget about your little spring that goes in here as well. You kind of got to do it all at the same time. The hardware spring, that's what I'm talking about, like that. So just make sure it goes under the hardware spring. That's what I meant earlier when I said hardware spring as well. So yeah, got that in, and then once you got those in, we're gonna put our little lock pins back in. These guys right here. So we'll go ahead, and there's a little hole right there, and just make sure this goes in and locks in like that. That way this slide pin will never come out on you. Alright, so I got those in, the top and the bottom, and that's pretty much it, guys. You gotta get this little outside cage part in. I'll show you what I mean. That little first part we took off. Right over here. This guy just goes back on, and then it's the 10mm bolts. And then you just gotta get these snug. You don't gotta go mega tight. You don't want to break them. And once those are on, then that's pretty much it, guys. So hope this video helps you out. Thanks for watching. See you next video.